One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Coach Molly Miller. Molly is the head women's basketball coach at Drury University. Greetings, Molly. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, Ty.
It's a neat environment here at NACDA. We're at the 2019 NACDA convention. Have you been to this convention before?
This is my first time, and there's a lot of administrators here, so a little overwhelming for a coach like myself to be surrounded by all these admins.
That's okay, because what I'm about to say, you probably won more games than they ever seen in their history of their life. So as a head coach, 148 wins and 17 losses, right? You're going on your 6th year as a head coach. 9 years total in the profession with 3 years as an assistant. Won a lot as an assistant. This year, Division II National Coach of the Year. And even as a player, you had over 100 wins. So winning is something that you've grown accustomed to. But any good coach knows that winning doesn't come easily. Can you talk to me about the culture of winning, the culture of continued success when that's all you've known and you don't want to be content?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's got to be continuous, and it's got to be a tradition, and it's just got to be a way of life. And that's what we've described it kind of as Drury is the standards and expectations are going to be super high. We're going to challenge you. We're going to push you. And I think players want to be challenged, and it's healthy to be pushed. But in the same respect, we're going to recruit not only the basketball player, but the person. So I think what's healthy in culture is you invest in these kids, and they'll run through a brick wall for you. And in turn, you want to run through one for them. And it's just this neat energy that you can create amongst a program which fosters culture. And anyone would tell you culture is hard. It's hard to form. It's hard to get where you want it to. It's hard to establish and maintain. But I think when you give these kids expectations, when you give these kids the tools to succeed, then that culture kind of naturally forms, and we're all in it for the right reasons, essentially, and that's winning, growing up and learning, and we're role models in these kids' formidable years. So really mentoring and teaching them how to be good stewards of the community, recognizing that their studies matter. They're probably not going to be playing professionally at the age of 40 and making a living. They've got to get their education. So it's some of those kind of non-negotiables that we go through at the beginning of the year, like here's what's important to us and here's how we're going to succeed. And you're all here because you want to win and you want to succeed. So let's figure out how to do this together.
Here's what I'd like to know about some of the things you said. You mentioned the standards and expectations are high. I've known coaches for my whole 15 or 16 year professional career, worked with the Coaches Association, and coaches do very well at explaining the expectations that they have of the student athletes in their program. Do you as a coach tell the student athletes what they can expect from you? Like how do you communicate that, or is it just something you just live? Like tell me about that part.
Absolutely. I think that's a great question because we're always kind of preaching as coaches, like we're about this. Well, show me. And one thing that I preach is we have an open door policy. Like you literally won't see my door closed. If I'm telling you, come on in, I have an open door and it's closed, that doesn't make sense. So I talk to my kids all the time about non-basketball issues. So they're in the office and we're shooting the breeze about the science test that they're about to take or the movie they just saw with their boyfriend, whatever it is. Like you just talk about life, and I think that's huge. And also kind of as a coach, you practice what you preach. You set up expectations. You tell them. I personally think coaches are kind of sometimes stuck in their ways. And what we want to do really well is recognize that Sally is not coached the way that Susie should be coached. Sally, you might be able to get on a little bit and motivate and ride her tail maybe a little bit more. But Sally, you've got to give some more pats on the back. And you've got to find what motivates each player. And so that's kind of an expectation that we say is like, we're willing to work with you. You've got to give back to us. You need to communicate with us. And we want to figure out what your buttons are, what your motivators are to get the most out of you. So I think even when you're recruiting freshmen, even before they get on campus, you get to know them and you form those relationships so you can really create a magical 4-year journey for them.
You were a player. You were out of college basketball for a while, 2 or 3 years, and then you got back in, worked for as assistant for 3 years, and then the head coach. How long as a head coach did it take for you to understand the things you just said, that I can't coach Sally and Susie the same way, and that they need to know what to expect from me as well as what I expect from them?
I'm still learning, and
Right.
I think I'll still grow, and I think I'll be one day from retirement, and I won't know it all yet. And that's the almost gratifying thing about this profession is you never stop learning because you're dealing with different people every single day, every single year. You know, there's a rotation. The only bad thing is they stay the same age and I keep getting older, so our gap gets a little bit, so that they keep me young. And it's one of those things where you continually try to grow and learn from each other. And I think that's valuable in our experience as coaches.
Right. It is very valuable. Now, you've been coaching as a head coach for going on 6 years.
Yep.
Your winning percentage, pretty much .90, right? Winning percentage it leads all active NCAA coaches. And we're talking about somebody like a Gino who's won 1,000 games, and that's a significant thing. As a coach, how you stay motivated to play, to practice, to coach, wake up in the morning and continue to be a high level. I know something like that is probably not as important to you. I pull it up because I think it's important, but talk to me about that part.
Well, Gino and I probably shouldn't even be mentioned in the same sentence. He is just masterful at what he does, but it's inspiring. There's a competitive fire in me and hunger in me that just wants to win. And I think when you recruit those kids that have that same competitive fire and hunger, a lot of our kids, all of them on scholarship could have gone Division I, but they want to win a national championship, and we've put ourselves in place to do that. And I think when you combine culture, as we're talking about, obviously they have to put that little orange round thing in the hoop and they can play ball, but then they're good people. Like, it's a recipe for success. So I've got a phenomenal staff, and it just takes, it says it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, we're raising, 12 to 16 kids every year. And so I think the pieces you put in place to be successful is the most important thing you can do when you're looking at longevity of success.
Talk to me about some of the challenges in leadership, right? Somebody may look and see they win a lot, haven't got the championship yet, but it can't be that bad there. But I know for sure that there are pressures and challenges when you're the head coach of a basketball program. And when you talk about winning, that's a pressure in itself. Tell me about some of the challenges you face as a leader.
Well, I think you kind of explained the pressure of it all. Now you're expected to win. Anything that falls short of a national championship might be a disappointment, but I don't think we can dwell in that. We kind of relish that, and it motivates us and drives us. So I think one of the challenges you can get into is kind of beating up on yourself a little bit too much and even putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. But at the end of the day, it's about the experience. And I think maybe the older I get, the more I will appreciate that. Right now I'm so anxious, but if you can take a step back and say, was this a great experience for the kids you're mentoring and coaching? That's got to be a win, right? And when I get a call from one of my former players inviting me to their wedding or announcing the arrival of their first child, gosh, nothing really beats those experiences. And we're not going to remember scoreboard scores at the end of the day. Those relationships and those bonds and watching them become mothers and wives and leaders is so gratifying.
Yeah, it is. This has been an excellent conversation, Molly. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question, and congratulations on the Coach of the Year. Congratulations. Keep winning. You'll get it. You'll get there where you want to be. And thanks very much for joining us here on the One Question podcast.
Thank you for having me, Ty. It's been a pleasure.
That was Coach Molly Miller. She is the head women's basketball coach at Drury University. And, of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.